3, 2, 1.
Is your child's handwriting like this? Are you struggling to understand why their writings are not aligned, legible, easy to read and comprehend? We'll find out in this video. Hi guys, and you're welcome to Kaki'S vlog. Hello. Hi everyone, and you're welcome to Kaki'S vlog. Hi guys, and you're welcome to Kaki'S vlog. Missed you guys, like for real. I have missed you. I've also missed making content. So this particular topic has been on my mind for some time now, and it became even more pertinent that I talk about it and I share information about it, because it is a thing. It is happening to a lot of children. It happened to most of us when we were in school. And so during my findings and my little research, I felt there was a need for me to put this out there, and hopefully it is informative and really important information you find here. So today I'm going to be talking about dysgraphia. Dysgraphia is one of the specific learning disabilities that children normally have in the classroom. And what is dysgraphia? Dysgraphia, from my readings and research, in a summary or in a nutshell, it has to do with a delay and a failure for children to write. It is a writing challenge. It is a writing issue. It is a writing problem. So the child's writing is delayed. The child doesn't have speed. The child is mirroring his or her writing, right? When he's supposed to write B this way, he's writing his B this way, right? His writing is basically mirrored. The child is not writing on the lines. The writing falls below the line, or it falls above the line, and the child is shying away from writing tasks because of stigma, because of a pressure and the expectation to meet up. Because with writing, you have to stimulate your muscles. You stimulate your muscles, your fingers, your hands, because that's what you're going to use to write. So when you see these signs and the child's writing is not legible, the child's writing doesn't make meaning, the child cannot also spell. And when you can't spell, you can't write. So when you can't spell, you probably cannot be able to read. So we see that dysgraphia also has a tie with dyslexia, which is a reading challenge and which is also a specific learning disability. So what are we talking about here? Dysgraphia. I'm going to be concentrating on dysgraphia. Not to worry and not to fret. While I will say intervention is very important, because like the saying, early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy and wise. Early to intervene in this situation is going to save a lot of children from a lot of issues or after effects, one of which is destruction of the self-esteem, if there's any word like that. The self-esteem of any child having dysgraphia is very fragile. Why? Because the teacher is celebrating those with good handwriting. Oh, take a star. Okay, I'm going to put you on the star chart, and the child week in, week out, keeps on seeing the faces of other children, and he doesn't see his face, he doesn't see himself there, because he knows that he's not meeting up. So it doesn't boost his self-esteem. He recoils, he withdraws into his shell, and that also makes them not to be interested in writing, which also affects their performance. So these are the issues to consider. How do you know? How do teachers identify that this is dysgraphia? How can you tell that a child has dysgraphia without unnecessarily and intentionally labeling that child? So you want to know, what are the signs? How do I know that this child has dysgraphia so that I can intervene? Basically, you want to be looking out for the signs of dysgraphia. How does a teacher identify that this is actually dysgraphia and not just laziness? You know, sometimes we have that problem where we're trying to understand, is this child just being lazy or stubborn? Why is she not writing? Why is he not writing? So sometimes you need like a framework, you need a direction, a compass sort of, to understand that, okay, this is not just misbehaving or a behavioral challenge, it is actually what it is. So you will notice that the child is mirroring a lot, be upside down, the child does that one too many times, the child's writing is falling below the line of writing or above, the child's writing isn't legible, the child is shying away from writing tasks when you're trying to call her to the board or call him to the board to write. Because this is one way you can make the child to boost their confidence, by calling them to the board to also participate in classroom activities, you know, so that they don't feel that they're left out, they're not good enough, they're not meeting up to targets and to speed and expectations. Because every expectation of every teacher is that all the children are brought up to speed and they're writing with speed and they can write, and they don't have like missing notes on written notes and notes that are not completed, because they will get marked for it, right? They will get assessed. The teachers get assessed for these things. It's part of the assessment of a teacher. Are your students' notes marked? Are they up to date? Are they complete? These things also affect their appraisals and their assessments, so you want to be looking out for that. So one way that teachers can help is by identifying these symptoms, find out to be sure that this is a thing, and then get your supervisor involved, especially when this child is recoiling into their shell. This child is not participating because they feel that, oh, you're giving awards, you're giving motivations, you're giving stars to children whose writings are beautiful, you're motivating and encouraging them, and it's as if there's nothing for them. So it really affects their self-esteem. It doesn't boost their confidence in any way. It makes them have anger issues because their friends are reminding them, write fast, write fast, he's too slow. These are the things that actually get to the children and make them feel like they're not good enough. So they have anger issues. They don't want to come to class. They don't want to come to school. They don't want to open up to their parents. So one of the things I discovered when doing my research is that when parents work hand in hand with teachers, it is one step to victory. Let me just put it that way. You can find out a lot of good being done when the parents and the teachers, they come together. How can you help my child? What do I need to do? Right? Parent-teacher involvement is one of the best ways to help your child's learning and development. Another thing is to get your child to stimulate their fingers and their hands a lot, because you write with your hands, your fingers, and so you're stimulating the wrist. And because you're going to grip a pencil, you're going to grip a biro or a pen, you're going to grip it, so you need to have a firm grip. What happens most of the time is that when there is no firm grip, the pencil is wobbly, your writing is wobbly, so you want to grip the pencil very tightly and firmly. You want to not mirror your letters and symbols. You also want to be fast. So there are also apps, there are mobile applications that you can download. You find all these apps in the link, you find them in the description. You download these apps. Some of them are speech to text, some of them have you typing on them. They also help with writing, they help with spelling, they help with comprehension, because there's also a relationship between dysgraphia and dyslexia, because dyslexia is a reading challenge. So if this child cannot write, this child is likely not going to know how to really read. It's not in all cases. This can also be lifelong, but if it is worked on quite early, if there's an early intervention, that child can move out of this zone. So there is need for teachers to be informed. There's also need for educators, for the management, for school administrators to put checks in place, to also put training, sufficient, adequate training in place so that teachers can best manage this situation. You also need to have resources in mind. You need to have arts, fine arts, arts and crafts resources, things that make the child to stimulate their fingers, clay for molding, things that make the child walk on their fingers, very, very important. And beading, weaving, you know, drawing, twines, and all those things, have those in your school. And also get occupational therapists to come in to make diagnoses and assessments, because the teachers may not be in the best position to make these assessments and diagnoses. So get these occupational therapists in that can help these children. And once you start seeing progress, make sure that there is a follow-up that will make these children to keep on writing. And before you know it, these children are out of this challenge. Yes, it might be lifelong, but with immediate help and intervention, these children can get out of the situation. Another thing for educators and teachers to understand is that with encouragement, you can boost the morale and the confidence of these children by also celebrating their little efforts. Yes, it can be time consuming when you're waiting for a child to finish up their notes. They're not writing with speed. You need to move to the other page. You need to get on with your lessons. These are the challenges we see on the job daily. However, with you intervening in your own way by helping them as well with your Nelson handwriting, with the Nelson handwriting intervention, is quite an old form of handwriting practice which has been helpful. So for some people, they still fall back to the Nelson handwriting to help them with their writing. You're taking time to hold your pencil, to make your cursive and make your symbols flow in a certain order. So these are the ways you can help children with dysgraphia. One way you can boost the confidence of this child. This child feels that I am seen. I am not just one person in the class just because my handwriting is not well, because they get bullied, they get pressured, they also are made fun of in the classroom. So these are the things that teachers need to mitigate against in order for these children to feel welcomed in the class. If you've enjoyed this session, give it a thumbs up, share, and stick around for my next post. Thank you very much, and see you.